Well, it looks like Hollywood is collapsing, at least from the latest report on the New York Post. They're very concerned after both Tenet and Mulan completely tanked, losing hundreds of millions of dollars, proving out that Hollywood literally cannot exist without the coasts, cannot exist without all the movie theaters being open, and it may just be too late. Why Disney's delay of Black Widow means doomsday for Hollywood. Hollywood's hopes of a comeback this year are officially dead. Disney put the last nail in the coffin on Wednesday when it delayed several of its much-anticipated fall flicks, including Black Widow, starring Scarlett Johansson, and Steven Spielberg's West Side Story. The move, while not surprising due to the still raging shutdowns, has experts calling a wrap on the 2020 movie-going season. Black Widow, about a KGB operative set for November 6th, will now hit theaters in May in 2021. Disney said West Side Story, a movie version of the classic Broadway musical, has been delayed a full year to December 2021. Two films were among the biggest flicks left in Hollywood's schedule this year and were in lingering hopes that they might encourage people to return to theaters in spite of everything going on right now. But analysts say Disney had little choice to pull the film after seeing the results of recent experiments from the form of Warner Brothers' spy thriller Tenet and Disney's own Mulan. Tenet, starring Robert Pattinson, reeled in a tepid $36 million in domestic box office since hitting the screens on September 3rd, which MCAM Partners analyst Eric Handler says proves that big releases cannot make it without theaters in major cities like New York and LA. Tenet's U.S. results definitively show us that Middle America cannot carry a tentpole film. You need the coasts. Well, that's not true. It's saying that Middle America, while most of it's still shut down, can't carry films. And also, maybe we didn't want to see Tenet, although I did want to see Tenet, but I'm fine jumping in a boat, if you know what I mean. He said, adding, until that happens, studios will delay the release of their big and best movies. Disney bypassed the U.S. theaters entirely with its live-action remake of Mulan by releasing the flick exclusively to its new streaming service, Disney+. It told customers who were already shelling out $7 a month for Disney+, they needed to fork over an additional $30 to see the film, which cost $200 million to make. Although Disney has not released official results, third-party data from Samba TV suggests about 1.1 million households downloaded the flick on its opening weekend of September 4th, which translates to $33 million. A figure, if accurate, is a disaster, according to Lightshed Partners analyst Rich Greenfield. And I don't know what they're going to do. I mean, after this, are they going to just re-release these films once theaters open up? I don't know. I suppose they'll try. Mulan did not work. It's not a viable alternative to Disney's theatrical strategy, he said. It works for smaller movies. He cited Trolls World Tour, Universal Pictures animated movie that bypassed theaters and headed straight to VOD for $19.99 in April. That film garnered $100 million in rentals, according to Universal, and appeared to be a viable strategy to combat the doldrums of lockdowns. So you know that this is not a reasonable comparison, I don't believe. A couple of differences. One, this was at the absolute height of lockdown, before people had really adjusted. So many people were just sitting around collecting unemployment or waiting to go back to work, and kids were home from school, so people were more likely to rent these movies, and it was priced correctly. I think $20 is a more reasonable price for these films, especially when you don't have to pay that on top of a $7 monthly fee. So essentially $20 clear or $37 for Milan. It was just a greedy move. Comscore media analyst Paul, long last name, pointed to Mulan's hefty price tag and the fact that Disney said the movie would be free to watch in December as central to its paltry showing. Consumers are price sensitive right now. Shocking. $30 on top of your subscription, that's pricey for some. That's pricey for everybody, he said, turning into the clouds, it's still hanging over once a vibrant industry. It's profoundly different marketplace than it was 6 or 7 months ago, he said. We don't know the long-term implications, but studios and movie theaters are facing a reckoning, and it's directly related to the lockdowns. I don't know if that's true. I don't know if that's necessarily true, because I think that what I suppose it is. I suppose it is related, but I think people are also figuring out that we don't necessarily need to go to the movies, that we don't necessarily need to pay for big Hollywood blockbuster films, especially from people that don't care about us and just want us to vote they want the way they want. I think that ultimately when we look at, Hollywood rethinks a movie release schedule as Tenet stumbles at the box office, I don't know how long it's going to be before you see movies with, $1 billion movie franchise. Is it over? I'm wondering if the $1 billion movie is just gone. The disastrous debut of Warner Brothers' spy thriller Tenet at movie theaters, Hollywood hits the panic button. Tenet, a $200 million Christopher Nolan production, amassed less than $30 million in ticket sales since hitting the theaters. Studios are making decisions based on what happens with Tenet, said MKM Partners analyst Eric Handler. What I think you're going to see is more movies get pushed back until we see major markets reopen again. But that's the thing. Even if major markets reopen, I don't think people are going to be excited to go back and sit shoulder to shoulder in theaters. I mean, when I saw Endgame, I was literally shoulder to shoulder with people, and I didn't even care. Now, do I care going forward? Not really, but people do. There are a lot of people that will just never go back to the movie theaters again. But Tenet, with pre-lockdown, was projected to garner $850 million in global ticket sales, was expected to jolt the industry back to life. Instead, it arrived at the box office with a whimper, grossing $178 million internationally and just $29.5 million in North America, bringing its total global box office to $207 million, which means they lost hundreds of millions on Tenet too, given the blockbuster marketing budget usually being, another $200 million on top of that. What we won't want to do is make the mistake of putting a very, very expensive $200 million movie on the market unless we're sure theaters are open and operating at a significant capacity. But again, I'm saying even if they're open, I'm telling you, people are just not going to go back to the theaters like they used to. I don't think we're going to see a $1 billion movie for a very long time, maybe ever. I know that sounds hyperbolic, but I don't know. I mean, I used to go to the movies at least once or twice a month. Now I haven't gone to the movies in it feels like a year, right? And now I'm used to it. Now I'm used to just waiting for a digital version to be available somewhere and then just getting it. So let me know, are you expecting to go back to the theaters soon? Has this reminded you more like, you know what? I don't need to go and spend $50 at the movie theater. What do you think the future for Hollywood is, and how bad do you hope it'll be? I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope that maybe Hollywood taking it on the chin for 6-8 months a year might, make them think about, making good movies again. I hope you enjoyed this video. We'll talk to you again real soon.